After watching the Florida gubernatorial debate between Ron DeSantis and Charlie Crist, two things were perfectly clear. Number one, Charlie Crist is desperate. Number two, Charlie Crist believes, as I do, that the only issue that favors his campaign is the issue of abortion. Throughout the hour-long debate, Crist twisted answer after answer back to abortion, even when the question was on a completely unrelated subject. Is it really any wonder that DeSantis is up 11 points in the latest polling? So the first question in the debate was about housing and what solutions the candidates would implement to manage future growth and ensure affordable housing is available. Charlie Crist decided to use nearly half of his allotted time to push abortion. I'm going to try and keep most of the clips short for you, but I want to play this answer in its entirety. I think it's important that you see it. Check this out.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you for being here tonight. I want to thank everybody for watching this evening. I wanted to start out by saying that you're going to see a stark contrast in this debate and this election. It's a stark contrast between somebody who believes in a woman's right to choose. I think that's fundamentally important. Governor DeSantis has signed a bill that would restrict that right, even in cases of rape or incest. So get to your question. Housing is an incredible issue as well. We have a housing crisis in our state. Good luck buying a home. Good luck renting an apartment. And it's because Governor DeSantis has taken his eye off the ball. He's focused on running for president in 2024, and as a result, we have lost things in our state budget, specifically a housing trust fund that has hundreds of millions of dollars that he, along with the legislature, have cut. I would restore it. I would make sure that we're doing everything we can to be sure that housing is affordable again. And along with that goes so many other things, the price of gas, the price of utilities. These things are through the roof. We have inflation in Florida that's unique to any other state. And the problem is our inflation's too high under his leadership.
That's time.
Well, first of all, Crist is absolutely correct in that you are going to see a stark difference between these candidates. While Ron DeSantis does his best to answer the questions the moderator puts to him, Charlie Crist, as you can see in that first clip, tries to twist everything into a referendum on the abortion issue. Second, how dare he try to blame gas prices and inflation on Ron DeSantis? What reality is this flip-flopper living in? Ron DeSantis, though, he came out swinging, and he landed a couple of crushing body blows to Crist in his opening answer.
Charlie Crist has voted with Joe Biden 100% of the time to give us these inflationary policies and to drive up the cost of everything that we're doing. And the fact of the matter is, over the last 2 years, we've now have record inflation all across this country at 40-year highs. He supports Biden's energy policies, which have made gas and utilities more expensive. That is wrong. And I would also say this. You mentioned, Liz, that people are flocking to Florida. That would not have happened if Charlie Crist had his way. He wrote me a letter in July of 2020 saying you need to shut down the state of Florida. He said you need to force people to shelter in their own homes. That would have destroyed the state of Florida. That would have caused our tourism industry to go into the toilet. It would have locked out millions of kids from school. I rejected Charlie Crist's lockdown letter. I kept this state open, and I kept this state free. And we now have the biggest budget surplus in the history of Florida. We have a 2.5% unemployment,
Governor,
second lowest on record, and we just did the biggest tax cut in Florida history.
Thank you, Governor. That's time.
While Charlie Crist refused to give straight answers to many of the questions posed to him in the debate, one answer that Ron DeSantis did dodge repeatedly was whether or not he plans to serve a full term as governor. Even though it was against the rules of the debate, Charlie Crist repeatedly questioned or called into question DeSantis' commitment to serving a full term should he be reelected. Now, while DeSantis never directly answered the question, he did hit back at Crist with this great line.
Well, listen, I know that Charlie's interested in talking about 2024 and Joe Biden, but I just want to make things very, very clear. The only worn-out old donkey I'm looking to put out to pasture is Charlie Crist.
On to the subject of education, Crist accused DeSantis of playing politics in the classroom. And then he said we need to have parents involved in the classroom. Considering that was one of the main focuses of the parental rights in education bill, you'd think that Charlie Crist would support it. But he doesn't, because he's a hypocrite.
I would say when you oppose the Parents' Rights in Education bill, which prevents 6, 7, 8-year-olds from having sexuality, gender ideology injected in their curriculum, you are the one that's waging the culture war. I'm simply defending parents and students.
Hey, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Anyone who doesn't support the Parental Rights in Education bill is wrong, period. Full stop. Ask yourself, why would anyone oppose stopping teachers from talking to kindergartners through third grade kids about sexual orientation? Then ask yourself, why do those people who want teachers talking to little kids about sex not want parents to know about it? Why don't they want parents to have a say in it? And why don't they want parents to be informed when this kind of discussion is happening with their child? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what kind of person is going to be opposed to legislation that prevents this from happening. So if you were opposed to the falsely labeled Don't Say Gay bill, which of course the bill doesn't say at all, you are on the wrong side of history.
I think denying girls and women athletes the right to compete fairly, I think that's divisive. I think it's divisive to rip opportunities away from our girls in the state of Florida. And you want to talk about divisive? The day after Charlie Crist won his primary, he said, anyone that supports the governor, you have hate in your heart and I don't want your vote. Well, think what that means. I'm endorsed by every police group in the state of Florida. I'm endorsed by the firefighters. I'm endorsed by the truckers, the nurse anesthetists, Retail Federation, Farm Bureau. The whole cross-section of the state of Florida is backing me. They do not have hate in their hearts because they reject Charlie Crist. They want to keep Florida going and they want to keep Florida free.
Oh my God, if this was a boxing match, that would have been a knockdown, with Crist being saved by the bell. I've got a few more moments from the debate that I really want to show you, moments that are important that you're not likely to see in the mainstream media, and you want to make sure that you see this. When asked about the subject of critical race theory, something that Ron DeSantis has banned in the state of Florida for K-12 public schools, Crist accused DeSantis of being a divider on race, sexual orientation, and age, when in reality, DeSantis has worked to eliminate discrimination during his time as governor.
We ought to teach facts in our schools. We ought to teach the truth in our schools.
Okay, the problem here is that Crist doesn't want to teach facts in school. He wants to teach an alternate history. He wants to teach a history that treats white kids as if they're oppressors and treats minority kids as if they are somehow being oppressed, and specifically being oppressed by the white kids and their families. That crap doesn't have any place in our schools. Racism doesn't have any place in our schools, and teaching young kids to be racist is wrong, period.
I'm proud of our history. I don't want to teach kids to hate our country. I don't want to teach kids to hate each other. And the way to stop discrimination on the basis of race is to stop discriminating on the basis of race.
I couldn't have said it better myself. When it came to the subject of teacher shortages in the state of Florida, Charlie Crist had this to say.
Ron, when I was governor, we paid our teachers more per dollar than you are, and you have a surplus. I governed when we had a great recession, and we did it because we prioritized it. It was the right thing to do. That's how you need to lead. You need to lead by uniting people, not dividing them. He talks about dividing us all night long. It's what he does. It's who you are. It's what he's about. You deserve a better governor who cares about women and your freedom and your right to choose. And your right to vote and to support it.
Of course, none of that is true, and if anybody on this stage is trying to divide people, it's clearly Charlie Crist. Also, what the hell does a woman's right to choose have to do with teacher shortages in the state of Florida? Nothing, of course. But once again, it's the only issue that Charlie Crist actually believes he can win on. That's why he keeps bringing it up time after time after time during the debate. When abortion does come up as a question posed to the candidates, I think it's important that you hear the actual question asked. The reason I say that is because Ron DeSantis answers the question, while Crist not only dodges, but then he lies about the content of the question and DeSantis' answer to it. It's really disgusting, and it's a desperate attempt by a desperate man who knows he is about to be humiliated at the polls. Here's the question.
In your opinion, after what week of pregnancy should abortion be banned?
In your opinion, after what week of pregnancy should abortion be banned? That was the question. Here's what Ron DeSantis had to say.
Well, I was thinking back in the aftermath of this to a poor woman over 40 years ago in Jamaica, and she found herself pregnant. Didn't think there'd be much opportunity to have a child, was urged to abort the baby, went to get the abortion, and for whatever reason, and maybe we can't explain, that didn't end up happening, and she ended up having the baby. And I think about that because a few months ago, I appointed her daughter to be the first Jamaican-American justice in the history of the Florida Supreme Court. I just think we're better when everybody counts. I understand not everyone's going to be born in perfect circumstances, but I would like to see everybody have a shot. I'm proud of the 15 weeks that we did. I know Charlie Crist opposes that, even though the baby is fully formed, has a heartbeat, can feel pain, and can suck their thumb. He also supports sex-selective abortions, which is used to discriminate against little girls. He supports dismemberment abortions, where they literally will tear the baby limb from limb. And he supports taxpayer funding of abortion all the way up until the moment of birth, and that is wrong.
When Charlie got his turn to speak, the first thing he did was lie, saying that DeSantis didn't answer the question, which you just saw he did. Then he went on to lie about what the question was, saying,
he wouldn't answer your question. Do you want to ban abortion completely? He never got to it. He talked about Jamaica. I don't want to ban abortion. I want to make sure we keep a woman's right to choose available to the women of the state of Florida.
Did you see that? Crist never answered the actual question. The question again, after what week of pregnancy should abortion be banned? Instead, he goes on about his support of a woman's right to choose, and he accuses DeSantis of not answering the question. But you just saw Ron DeSantis did answer the question. DeSantis said he was proud of the 15-week ban. Crist also lied about what the question was. Despite Crist's claims, the question was not, do you want to ban abortion completely? Once again, here's the question.
In your opinion, after what week of pregnancy should abortion be banned?
If Charlie Crist thinks that we are so stupid as to not know what we just heard a minute ago, if Charlie Crist can't even be honest about the question that was just asked a minute earlier, how can we expect him to be honest with us about anything else? The short answer is that we can't.
He's also something a little bit of a chameleon. I mean, he used to support a federal constitutional amendment that outlawed all abortion regardless of any type of exceptions. Now he's taken the other extreme position. The question is this an honest change of heart, or is this a guy that's going to shift with whatever when he needs to try to keep his political career alive? I think we all know the answer to that question.
Congressman, you have 30 seconds.
Ron, again, that's not true, and you know it.
Except it actually is true. Crist has gone back and forth on this very issue since he first started in politics. The only thing consistent is Crist's lack of consistency. Okay, there is one more great moment from this debate that I want to show you, and I've saved the best for last. Anybody who's been keeping up with Florida since the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic knows that Ron DeSantis is personally responsible for keeping the state of Florida open, for keeping tourism alive, and for keeping businesses from closing their doors forever. This next clip from Charlie Crist gets laughter from almost everybody in the room. And not because he said something intentionally funny, but because what he said was so absolutely ludicrous. Watch this.
I'm pro-business. I want to make sure we keep our businesses open. I'm not the governor who attacked Walt Disney World because they deigned to express their point of view. I'm not the governor who attacked the cruise industry because they just wanted to make sure that their customers weren't sick before they got on the boat. That's you. You're the most anti-business governor I've ever seen.
That's time, Congressman.
You know what? I was not expecting Crist to come out with a strong performance. I mean, my opinion of Charlie Crist is so low that as long as he didn't come out and drool on himself, I would have thought that he did an okay job. After all, Crist is a mouse fighting a gorilla in this race. But what I didn't expect was for him to say something so ridiculous, so demonstrably false, and so stupid with only 2 weeks left to go before Election Day. Saying Ron DeSantis is anti-business is almost as stupid as saying that Ilhan Omar isn't an anti-Semitic racist. It's just asinine. The bottom line here is that Ron DeSantis absolutely wiped the stage with Charlie Crist. Anyone who says Crist did anything other than get his rear end handed to him in this debate either didn't watch the debate or they only watched a few select clips. I can tell you, I watched the entire debate, and I watched the entire debate again while I was pulling clips to show you. Ron DeSantis crushed Charlie Crist, just like he's going to crush him in 2 weeks in the election. Ron DeSantis is currently up by 11 points. And I've been telling you for the last 2 months, I think DeSantis wins this by 14.5 or better. We're going to find out in just 2 more weeks. If you're interested in seeing more, definitely check out the entire debate. But I tried to give you the highlights here as well as give you my opinion on what the candidates had to say. If you like the video, do me a favor and hit the like button. Then click on subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way, you'll be the first to know anytime we upload new content just like this. You'll also be helping the channel by telling the algorithm to show this video to other people who might be interested in seeing it. Every little bit really does help, so thank you. Well, that's my take. What's your take? You can let me know your take in the comments below. You can also let me know your take by joining the cult at PolPopCult on all major social media outlets. Thank you for listening.